Welcome to the Parentrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Haynes. And if you're new here, the Parentrepreneur Podcast is primarily documenting me and my wife's story on how we're starting our own separate businesses and getting them off the ground while raising 4 children. But additionally, part of what we want to do in this community is one, highlight other legacy parent entrepreneurs who have already started successful businesses as parents and learn from them. Another thing we want to do is highlight the starter series or parent entrepreneurs who are getting businesses off the ground. This is our first starter series with Troy Fink, the CEO of Gammit Tech, who is trying to revolutionize potty training and make it easier for us all. He's a pastor, a full-time worker, and also a CEO of a startup. And so we talk about how to manage, 3 children while also getting his idea up off the ground and making that leap. I hope you enjoy it. Troy, thanks for joining the Parentrepreneur Podcast, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, tell me about your business. Tell me about yourself. What's your background?
Colored for sure. And I think that's just like an old-fashioned way to say that it's been quite the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in the greater Philadelphia area, South Jersey area,
Okay.
and mom and dad, deeply in love. And dad had a little bit of a little swag to him, so to speak. He was an entrepreneur and was in real estate and the car business, used car business, and kind of brought me up early in his child rearing, like early onset there at the dealership, learning business, would really like unpack his thinking to me and give me real time example into his mind. He was super loving, super gracious father, but would give me a lot of experience fast into adulthood, into maturity, into his perspective on things. He was raised by 2 very loving parents, but they were just really caught up in the grips of addiction.
Mm.
So he was raised in the wake of sort of those consequences. And my dad and my upbringing made like Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. I'm 38. So
Okay.
I think a little younger.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm 30.
Okay. So HBO would premiere these series every Sunday evening, and The Sopranos, bro, was I'm just trying to think of like a comparable show now. My wife really likes Severance, but Severance didn't even. Do you watch Apple TV?
Dude, I hardly watch TV. YouTube's my thing, but I'm familiar with The Sopranos. Thankfully, you don't have to mansplain Sopranos to me.
Sorry, bro. Sorry. It's more of age. Like, what is it called when you over explain because you're just so old and someone young and thriving, and you're old and decrepit, and you're just
Oh,
trying.
yeah. Okay. The Sopranos.
Yeah, dad made Tony, dad and Tony Soprano, the blending of sort of those 2 lives were what I thought was really cool. So I thought that achievement and the pinnacle of success was being your own boss and deeply rooted entrepreneurial sort of freedoms and liberties, and that was romanticized in a big way because my dad was really successful, but almost to the like unteenth degree, to an unhealthy way. I am uncontrollable and untamable, and I color outside of the lines and I do my own thing, sort of in the way that Tony Soprano did in the show. So my dad was Tony Soprano. My dad's Tony Soprano light in a way, like not affiliated in, criminality, but was certainly in rooms with folks that were doing bad things. And and he would privy me into his thinking and upbringing and mind. He was definitely a product of that.
Mhm.
My grandmother did like hard time, and there's just stories, and you get brought up learning these things, and I romanticized it and took sort of that cavalier rogueness and really embodied it and ran with that and got myself in a lot of trouble. Got myself in trouble with the law, got myself, a, a drug and alcohol habit. So by the time I was 18, I was a father. Um, I was a felon. I was just upside down in my value system and in my goals and in my ambition. It was just so convoluted. And then I had a really I lived that way for years, until 20 about 26.
Oh wow.
And
So a good
had
string.
yeah. Yeah, I mean I started messing around with drugs and alcohol as a like 14-year-old.
Mhm.
Smoking when I was 11, and would fight, or just really found a lot of identity, one of them about self-validation and being able to like have money or make money for just Tony Soprano, like just that, just the
Yeah.
PG version of, the cartoon character of Tony Soprano. And
It's
um
like the culture of holding your own, like from a young age. And it's like the old school, I get it, old school Philly
yes,
upbringing.
yes. So that was instilled in me, and I I lived that out until great pain and failure, and in both my life and into the lives of the people around me. Um, and then I had a really a supernatural experience, um, in with God. Um, a friend who just was in my dad's life, who was ministering to him in 2008. I remember my dad had a blue leather bag in our house in South Jersey, and I distinctly remember one day him telling me that $500,000 were in it. And I don't, I haven't seen $500,000 before or since, but he had no reason to lie. It was a big blue bag of cash, a duffel bag of cash. And I remember one day that being gone. And 2008, so I'm 20 years old, and I'm in a pretty gnarly addiction and lifestyle at that point. And I had already like was like, hiding from dad, and kind of dad loves me, and it's like, you know, when you're not living right, there's an intuitive compulsion to hide that.
Yeah.
It's what we do with our social media accounts. It's what we do with our cars and our clothes and these facades that we just are just so easy to put on, instead of just taking raw look at brokenness. So I was hiding from dad, so I don't remember all the details, but he has since told me, and um, that was when there was a huge financial crisis in '08, and he had lost that $500,000 bag, which was like his nest egg or his retirement or whatever it was. It was gone. And there was this guy ministering to my dad. He was a carpenter that worked on my dad's rental properties, and he was a deacon at an independent fundamental, this is a mouthful, an independent fundamental missionary Baptist church. Ugh. Which is just they could have just said that they were just Christians. But um and this guy would like, his ministry to my dad would overflow. It would kind of, it was so rich that it would pour out onto my life. And I was like, I remember him talking to me about God in my driveway. My dad had this custom made $1 million house. We had a statue in front of it, like with this like girl dance. It just was this, everything was imported and beautiful. And this guy was there, and he was just such a humble dude, bro. He was just in humble clothes, and drove a humble car, and had a humble life, and a and humble way about him. And I remember saying to him, like, you have nothing that I want. Like it just was, there was nothing aesthetically attractive. There was nothing that Tony Soprano would have been attracted to. Nothing that my dad taught me to be attracted to. And he just told me, Troy, God has a plan for your life, and you're not going to find peace until you discover Him and relationship with Him, and then what that plan is, and then doing it. Like, you were made on purpose intentionally for a reason. And until you discover your maker who made you, and you discover that purpose in which you were intentionally made, and then walk in that purpose, you're just going to meander. Like, are you pleased with yourself? Like, are you happy? And I wasn't. Like, shut up, dude. Like whatever I said, just punk, just
Yeah.
through, like just like punk. And 26, man, the light bulb went off. I had been in the scripture for a couple years since then, just as a not self-taught, but like as a guy with no cultural religion. If anything, my only cultural religion is that we were Jewish, because my dad is a cultural Jew, so with no real religion. And it had been a couple years then at that point that I was studying the scripture and finding some peace when I would read it, finding some hope when I would read it, but ultimately always ending up in despair, because though I would like what I heard and read as I read God's word, I wouldn't do the things that it said to do. So I didn't ever yield the results that it promises that you'll have.
Yeah.
It's like listening to Parentrepreneur and never taking any of the feedback. Always leaned in on the latest nugget of wisdom, but with no like, never putting action
Yeah.
behind it.
It's the idea behind meditating on the word, right? Where meditating, we think like like very like Eastern idea.
Oh yeah,
But, I mean, it's meaning chew and to digest and to put in action, right? So absolutely.
yeah. So I went from a hearer to a doer, and all of a sudden that taste for those things in the world that had just turned me out and played me out and puppeted me and made a fool out of me, those things that I was really so inclined to and always leaned in for the entirety of my life, from 11 now to 26. He just zapped me, and he just made me a new man.
Mm.
And I've been journeying since then in the Word of God, and letting it govern and overlay um, my life, my parenting, my entrepreneurship, my entrepreneurial venture, my ministry, my marriage, my training, my interfaces with new friends on podcasts.
Yeah. I appreciate the testimony, man. Yeah, this isn't a Christian podcast per se, but like we're believers as well. So like, we always say like we unashamedly say what we believe. So I appreciate you going through that context. So when we were talking about, looking back on your life and upbringing with what you saw with your dad, how did that influence you as you went from, kind of the rock bottom
Yeah.
to having a kid to, working your way out of it, finding Christ again? Like, what did the entrepreneurial side always stick with you, or did you feel like you lost it at some certain point, or you're like, no, that's not me anymore? Or did you find a kind of a resurgence of wanting to be an entrepreneur, or was it just always there?
So I will tell you my first interpretation of how Christ and my life and entrepreneurship collided, and then I'll tell you um, hindsight and with like another degree of maturity and some more wisdom than I had when I first believed. So I give my life to Christ, and I am mourning. I'm mourning violence, my way of coping with insecurity, doubt, fear. I'm mourning my sin. Like, how am I ever going to have a social life? And I got to be drunk. And how am I ever going to? I'm like mourning like this season of my life, because truly, as we follow Christ, He calls us into a death of our old life and to the resurrection of new life, the same way that he died and rose again. So as he calls us to follow him in his footsteps, I was like saying goodbye to me, as treacherous as I was to myself, was still like, I was my only friend. Like that's all I've ever known. So laying down that life was sorrowful. And a part of laying down that life was this entrepreneurial, ambitious mentality, perspective. I bought my first car, so I started smoking weed at the first time and smoking cigarettes and getting into like pornography at 11. But you know what else I did? I bought a car from a silent auction from a dealer 2 miles down the road from me, nursed it to my house, and then junked it. I bought the car at the silent auction for $150 and junked it. And this is at 11, of course, with my dad's tutelage, and
Yeah.
junked it for $500.
Hey, that's not bad at 11.
Whew, I can think about that moment now, bro. Like there was a flame of, there was an explosion, there was a stoking and a fanning of this thing. So this entrepreneurial spirit is embedded deep into my personhood. Lawns, shoveling snow, cars, clothes, drugs, um, the spectrum, the spectrum of, all these different things that I could interface with. I was selling clothes and shoes from my locker as a high school student. So there just was an excitement and a joy that it brought me, and it designated me. It gave me a unique status and position. It gave me financial independence in some regard. I took
You're
bets
always wheeling, dealing, like from
always.
on, always selling, always turning something over.
So when I became a Christian, because of my association with entrepreneurial endeavor, was so jaded and so interwoven with perversion and selfishness, and it just was completely and utterly corrupted. That cool thing, that job satisfaction of a job well done, in which God gives us as we do use our gifts and our ambitions, like that was completely drowned, like just shrouded and eclipsed by just greed and yuck. So I thought, surely entrepreneurial lifestyle and even financial success were now adverse. So I become this Christian and I overcorrect, because money was such a cruel master to me that I never understood how effective it could be as a servant. So I threw out the baby with the bathwater. And I was certain, Jake, I'm certain that God has not called me to business. And I was certain as my 4-year-old is certain that at 9:30 p.m. it's time for him to turn off the TV, bro, or no, you can't have that sugary snack this evening, as sure as he is certain that I am robbing him of some good and joyful entitlement, I was certain then at that moment that entrepreneurship was not for me. And clearly, as you know, more than maybe some of your listeners, that has since been sanctified, and God has cleaned up what it means to be an entrepreneur, a businessman, a business owner, a leader in the world of business. So I overcorrected and was really adverse to those things. And then the Lord would open up a door for me to get in business about a year later, in this season of really deliberate um, aversion. And it was really a commonsensical understanding, the way that so much of his revelation is perfectly upright and commonsensical. It's like don't get me wrong, there's some far out stuff in the scripture that will blow your mind, but a lot of it is like, I'm tired, I should sleep.
Mm.
I'm hungry, I should eat. A lot of it's incredibly intuitive. And an intuitive factor was that I had this child, this son, that I endeavored to provide for and care for and be the man that God had called me to be. And I needed money to do that. And I happened to be endowed with a certain number of gifts that always had lent themselves to such. So I was cleaning toilets in the hood in Kensington. Kensington is the heroin epicenter of the
Yes.
country. I was living in a boxing gym.
Familiar.
Yeah, I was living in a boxing gym that doubled as a church. And I was doing full-time urban ministry in Kensington. And an ex-Wall Street stockbroker who had also fleeced tons of people, and he worked with the Wolf of Wall Street, a guy named Craig Weber. Uh, um, he provides spiritual and financial support for missionaries in the Middle East right now, and in places where it's the most difficult to be a Christian. He has a burden for ministering and for making sure that the men and women that God send there are rightly supported. Um, Purpose Planning Ministries, it's called. And anyway, God's doing a great work in him. He walks away from the business world. He's serving in Kensington. So here you have these two Jewish guys who walked away from all the foulness of, over ambition and perversion of finances and entrepreneurship. And I'm cleaning a toilet, and he's like, I'm different than all the other people in Kensington, because Kensington is such a flagrantly, intrusively, out loud, screamingly broken place. That if you have like in a lot of places, and my brothers and sisters in Kensington, they know how I my feelings about that place. There is the most beautiful people there, the most generous and loving souls. Some of the best work that I've ever seen God do is in Kensington right now. But it's just a fact that people have less teeth in Kensington. People have like more scars and
Dude,
more
it's like zombie row, man. It's
zombie
like a bunch of
row.
zombies.
So if you're not a zombie and you're walking around in Kensington, they're like, "Hey, you want to run for mayor?" Like, so he
Yeah.
saw me there and he said, "What are you doing? What's your story?" And he ended up helping me get a job. I just started answering his phones for $350 a week, and ended up, I still work for the company that he's since moved on, and I still work there,
Cool.
developing business at a great place with great Christian brothers, and um, yeah, so that's how I originally thought of entrepreneurship as I became a Christian, and how I changed. And great
Nice.
question.
So then I missed a big part of that I should have started off with is how many kids do you have? And if you're comfortable sharing, what are their ages?
Yeah, dude, I just gave you the whole heroin addiction thing. So yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
comfortable. I have three children. My oldest is Troy Jr. Um, we grew up together, and my first son, my dear friend. Uh, I have my second son, Ezra. He's the Ezra Benjamin. He's the son of my right hand. He's the son of the promise. I had him. I'm the first one in my family to have children in wedlock, the first Christian, the first college graduate. So it was a big. My Ezra is a big win for the Fink family. And then my third is my daughter Selah. She's one. So Ezra's four, Selah is one, and she's our little Selah Grace, and she is
How old is your oldest? Is
he'll
Troy
be,
Jr.?
he'll be 19 in September, and he
Wow.
is he is dealing he's selling cars with my dad in Philadelphia today. Um, and I baptized my dad. He's no longer following after Tony Soprano. You better be following Christ, Dad. So
Dude, that's amazing. So yeah, already 19 selling cars. Like, man, I grew up doing sales my whole career. Didn't want to get into it, but fell into it, and it was good to me. But I mean, I have friends who sold cars, and man, it's it can be brutal, but it can really teach you a lot of good skills that you can carry with you into your entrepreneurship journey later on. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your business and what you're starting.
yeah, so I'm Troy, and I'm the CEO of Gammit Tech, and we're creating the world's most technologically advanced potty training product, and I can hardly work a Zoom call. Uh, our product is called the Luvi, and it's our flagship product. You know, Jake, I had shared freely, and I'm happy to do so. And may it be a blessing and encouragement to others that I wasn't there for Troy Jr. in important milestones. I wasn't rightly wired. I wasn't foundationally ready. I was lacking, sorely lacking character and general general adulthood, not even manhood skills, but just I was just lacking character. And I missed him brushing his teeth every night. He grew up in a blended family, so dad's here, mom's here, broken home. I missed him potty training. And I missed a lot of important moments in his life. And as sort of this new creation in Christ, as this new man, I was just resolved to not do that again. So as Ezra comes onto the scene and needs to be potty trained, I'm like all in, and all in with little success. So there was a season where he was like had a couple successful attempts on this single use potty chair. Um, I know you have a newborn, a colicky newborn. I know. You have three kids?
Four, 7, 5, almost 3, and then yeah, almost 4 months old.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
but yes, familiar with this. Like you take the thing, you dump it out, like one of
Yeah,
those.
it's
Yeah,
gross.
yeah,
Dude, it's
disgusting.
disgusting. And then you got to teach them again on the adult toilet, which they're terrified of. So it's like, yeah, so I have brilliant friends. I have like some of the smartest, like, yeah, I built a hydrogen airplane, and oh yeah, I interned at NASA. I'm like, yeah, I got a felony selling drugs to an undercover cop. It's like we're all just sharing sort of our credentials. It's like, yeah, I got letters after my name too, like Felon. So, um, yeah, I said, hey, I had this idea. What if it was a game? And I went to one of my co-founders, brilliant guy. He's got like almost 10 patents. My friend, he was at our wedding, so it's my wife's longtime friend and my dear friend since I've known my wife, which is now 9 years. Kamal Premachandra, and he was building, yeah, he was building the world's first hydrogen powered airplane at the time. And I come to him, I'm like, dude, what if they went to the bathroom and like they got a reward? What if it just was fun? Like, what if we just made it so fun that it just really it hacked their interest and they really wanted to do it? He's like, all right, well, let's try it. He introduced me to a Christian guy who is a brilliant industrial designer named Justin Babikian. He's another one of our co-founders. They're all here in Los Angeles, which is kind of a part as to why we moved out here last year from Philadelphia. And we tested the world's first Luvi on Luke. This was the first prototype, and
I
it's since iterated. It's since iterated. I'll show you a couple. this was the next one, and we put this one on the toilet. It just attaches right onto the toilet. This is a little bit bigger than our latest version, but this was the one that we taught Luke on, and this sensor points into the water. And when Luke went to the bathroom for the first time on Justin's toilet, this dome lit up with this really cool light show, and this this lit up with this really cool light show. And Luke peed in the adult toilet and loved it. And we have the famous quote on our website, which is our like, this is our national anthem. Can I go poo poo now? And we thought, hey, this might be cool. So we continued to iterate forward and got into sleeker designs and some that play music. And it's like what we're really excited about is a 15-person user study. We have 100 applicants right now. If you're listening, and I don't know when this will air, but if you're listening and you want to have a chance to demo a free Luvi as a part of the user study, you can go to goluvi.com right now and you can apply. We'll send you one, and you can have it in exchange just for your just brutally honest feedback. We potty trained Ezra on this in just over a week. About 4 days in, we took it off the toilet completely just to see how he would respond, and he didn't skip a beat. Over a dozen kids have used this so far. It's been endorsed by ABA therapists, child psychologists, those who have kind of seen it and interpret it, and just really believe that this could be a revolutionary tool in the arsenal of parents everywhere who are trying to potty train their kids. So I went ahead and sort of just in faith and with this idea became an inventor and started this company and found favor with a bunch of really brilliant people. And all of a sudden this amazing team was assembled, and people started trusting us with tens of thousands of dollars. And we're not on the market yet, but it's been quite the journey.
Amazing. Dude, that's really cool. So then what stage are you guys at the moment? Did you take an angel investment or are you
Yeah,
pre-seed?
yeah, yeah. So we took two pre-seed investments. So we've raised $35,000 so far, which is just such a blessing for people to be buying into this and affirming, trusting us to have not just be great innovators and help parents are potty trained, but being trustworthy people. Um,
And where do you want to keep raising rounds between you and your co-founder, or what are you trying to crowdfund this? What are you thinking about in the next stages of growth
what do you
once you
what do you think I should do?
I grew up with working out of companies out of LA and San Francisco and Taiwan, and most of them venture backed. And I'm such a there's such a big resurgence in bootstrapped. And I would say that it depends on what everybody wants, what the founder wants. If you guys want an exit, hey, maybe it makes sense to insert a bunch of cash. Once you get like a ton of validation, you can just crank the machine through and get an exit within 3 to 5 years. But if you're like, hey, I don't mind doing this low and slow and just like compounding this and adding more and more on as we can. I'm a big believer. I think bootstrapped is cool again. And I think there's so many interesting ways that you can get something off the ground without having to sell your soul, because you're just inserting a ton of people with their own opinion, and unless they really understand your industry well, they're gonna have that's gonna have a conflict of interest, especially if you have 3 other co-founders. So that's my own personal experience. And just know, I mean, Savannah started a magazine. Her and her sister started a magazine. Bootstrapped completely, and just know, like, it only takes one really good ad to essentially crowdfund yourself. Like, it only takes one really good Facebook or Meta ad to where things just click, and you don't have to. You can just fund yourself.
You're speaking my language, brother. Yeah. So I'm thinking as a modality of bootstrapping that we move to some sort of crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, checking a lot of boxes, not just validating the product market fit by getting parents to lean in and to show that they want this product and that there's a need for it, by whatever campaign allocation in which we choose something probably
Hmm.
reasonable in the tens of thousands of dollars. But let's say that $10,000 worth of people, 100 people, or 200 people, or 1,000 people want this product, that they see that potty training is crappy to go through, and
I see what you did there.
well, it's more literal than it is funny, but it's like it's terrible. I mean, listen, parents everywhere, is this fun for you? Are you enjoying this? Is this stressful for you? Is your kid feeling that stress? I hollered at Ezra the other day, just in a and he was not being perfectly disciplined. He he was not being, a perfect little boy. I had given him a direction, and he had strayed beyond that direction. I told him to stop, and he didn't. Um, and he did shortly after, but not immediately when I said, and I really raised my voice. And I was really sorry after, because I was really stressed when it happened, and I really I made a mistake. I was wrong. And Ezra wasn't perfect in that moment, but there was one person responsible for what happened there, and it was me. And I was wrong, and it was stressful. And when I'm stressed, he's stressed. And when he doesn't want to, I'm stressed. And we can hack that. We can hack that. And never has potty training taken longer, bro. Never has it taken longer. 39 months. It's taking kids 39 months. In 1955, it took 18 months on average. It's taking 39 months. Moreover, it's taking 6 to 12 months to complete the potty training process. Now, I don't know if that means, Ezra's completely potty trained. He still needs my help in certain instances, and I'm pleased to do that. But guess what? Everything's going exactly where it's supposed to go. I'm not buying money for I'm not buying diapers anymore. I don't need to supervise him and monitor him for any of his experiences in the bathroom. He just needs a hand at all times, and we'll work on that as well, right? But the point of the matter is that it's never we've never waited. We've never started later, and it's never taken longer. And if you go to Target right now, Ezra is a healthy 4-year-old boy. He's 38 pounds. If you go to Target right now, you will find diapers, pull-ups that your 7-year-old will like
Yeah.
cannot fit in. Like, you're not talking about Sayla did a stinky anymore. You're talking about like adult, like big kid bowel movements. And
Yeah.
it's just not cool. And what we're doing at Gammit is we're just leveraging gamification, which is, I believe personally, how God has given us many ways in which we can learn. But there is something that embeds learning, embeds information, embeds life skills through game in a way that is truly extraordinary. So, Tony Soprano, you certainly know Pokemon. You got to catch them all. I want to
Yes.
be the very best that no one ever was. To catch
Yeah.
them is my real test, and to train them is my cause. I remember that, and I can name Pokemon in a way that I can't name elements on the periodic table. And and one thing was this really enjoyable, catchy music, light, colorful, injected infusion of data. And one was, like it was this Charlie Brown's teacher sort of boring, plain information dissemination. And both were transmitting data, both were had the same 45-minute episode or period, and yet I can rehearse to you, I can think back to that 11, 12, 13-year-old boy, watching Pikachu fight Charizard and like so vividly, and yet, you know, Baranium? Is that something? Like I can't name like fundamental important things. Like and I think that gamification is a way that we could just teach kids really cool things, important life skills, and make everyone's life a lot easier.
Well, I will say you're in a great niche because parents will spend a lot of money to get their sleep back and for them to ease the potty training or crying situation with their children. So, yeah, I can see that this is going to be, huge once you get everything rolling and are out to market because I mean, I know personally, thankfully our potty training was pretty simple, straightforward for our kids. They picked it up really quickly. Um, but
Is
I
it
mean, I
because
know
your wife did all the hard work though, or was it actually is that her testimony?
it was a team effort, thankfully.
Amen.
Uh, but I mean, I do know there's plenty of them that parents that have the same kind of problems where it just doesn't stick or takes way longer than they expect, or they try to gamify it through other ways, or they try to incentivize them through other ways, and it just doesn't stick, or they just don't care enough. So that's really cool. Has there ever been like a testimonial or anything that's happened so far since you said there's 15 people that have tried this already? Has there ever been like a testimonial or anybody who tried it where you're like, okay, now I've validated it myself with my own kids, but okay, we're really onto something here.
Yeah, Luke is our first testimonial. That is an objective testimonial. It would ultimately, Luke's experience would be a part of Justin joining the team. He's like, wait a minute, this works. Like, all right, hey, let me help. Let me just see how this fits. But Luke, Levi, Nathaniel, Ezra, um, I have a friend who is, again, Dr. Meredith, who is a child psychologist and a potty coach, Sarah Meckling, who is a ABA therapist and a potty training expert. So the answer simply is yes. But what we haven't done is all of that has been carefully monitored, has either happened in my home or has been put under extremely controlled contexts and environments. This deployment in this upcoming month will be the wild, wild west for us. So we'll put one in your hands, Jake. We have 15. So I don't have an infinite amount, and I have 100 applicants. But I'm being prepared to take that stress test to the next level. Um, does 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 me batting these baby blues at that little Levi? I don't think that that's why he said this is amazing. I wish I had one of these in my house. Like such genuine, raw, authentic responses. I don't think that I curtailed those or tricked him into it. I believe that they're authentic, and I believe that we'll find new user testers to be consistent with our previous sort of controlled environments. But we're right there at the precipice of this deployment of these 15 units. As a matter of fact, today on our Gammit Tech social media pages, we showed the world the latest prototype, the 15 units that are being distributed, and it's like a major milestone for us. Put my little babies out into the wild and let all those little booger brains have their way with them. But Lord willing, they'll be as blessed as much as we were. I mean, having Ezra sort of achieve that milestone with such seamless effort was a real gift. It was just a grace when we needed it. He was potty training as we were moving from from Philadelphia to Los Angeles. I'm a pastor, so I have been pastoring in Philadelphia at a church that I planted um, with my pastor, and the Lord really was clearly calling us to this major change to go from urban ministry in Philadelphia to a mega church of 10,000 here in the South Bay, right here in SoCal. And one thing I didn't need navigating that was extra dirty diapers and a toddler who didn't have that degree of independence or autonomy as we transformed everything about his world in our lives. It was great to not have to deal with it.
Yeah. And that's tough too for kids because they can regress, with those big changes. So it's awesome to hear not only that it worked in such a quick amount of time, but that it stuck. So I want to go back to once this user group test happens, what's next for the company for you guys? What do you do after that?
Yeah. So Jake, again, and I don't want to communicate by any means that I am planless or winging it, but this is a Red Sea moment for me. I'm crossing into a land that I had not been before. I'm going away. I had not gone before. Um, this is this is a faith in some regard, but not a wholly hoping for the best. It's not like this, nor is Christ's claims. It's not, hey, cross your fingers and pray to the unseen sky genie, right? There is a great deal of empirical evidence in our faith as Christians and as business owners. So though I'm a tech founder who doesn't uh, can't code or work a Zoom call, here's my plan, but I'm open to feedback. So maybe we could help develop some of it right now. Let me tell you what I plan on doing.
Ben.
I plan on compiling the user test feedback, the good stuff, the sexy stuff, the stuff like I've already compiled from Nathaniel and Levi, from Ezra. Yeah, Potty, right? Nathaniel, I wish I had this at my house. Like, and just doing this explosive mashup of marketing content directed to parents who will be or are actively potty training to get them to buy into changing how parents are potty training everywhere with the Luvian gamification. We want to do that through a crowdfunding modality. So I capture the sexy stuff. I capture the content. We take the stuff that's rough and ugly, and we pour that into the iterations of the product to make sure that new folks aren't dealing with that weird battery life or that weird toilet fit or whatever they conclude. We have a great battery life and an awesome toilet fit, but whatever new people are going to say that gives me information that I don't already know, let's fix that. Let's keep what works. Let's toss with everything else. Then let's go to the world and say, hey, get behind this. I think at that point, once now I move my user study to 12 people in a controlled environment because it's a total of 12 who've interfaced with the Luvi, kids that are either in some stage of potty training, to now 15 who are actually out there in the wild. Let's say then we iterate again and we capture another 15, 25. Now we're talking about, you know, dozens of testimonials about how this thing works. We 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 captured that information, we aim it out into the world, we start a crowdfunding campaign, we validate to other investors, hopefully angels. Hopefully we can keep this small and family oriented, that this is something that you could really sink your teeth into, that the world really wants, and that you ought to be getting behind. And then we scale. We kind of then we talk about inserting rocket fuel and seeing how far this thing goes. I mean, I want to I want to do I want to do kingdom work. You know, I want to I want to build wells in Africa. I want to share people the hope that I found in my Savior and my King. I'm excited to be entrepreneurial and to develop the world's most advanced potty training product. I'm excited to help parents, but we're probably looking for an exit. The problem is that we keep thinking of new and innovative ideas to add to our product offerings and
Yeah,
the
that's
next thing.
exciting.
Uh,
Right.
or holding our hands, we're literally holding our hands open for God to add in new ideas and take it to the next step, or for us to exit and close it.
I think it's the right move in regards to if that's the path you want to go down with angel investing. I think you're exactly right in regards to get your sample size, get your market validation, getting your testimonials. It helps you bolster up your website so that when someone goes there, they see, not only just a few, but, dozens potentially. And then when you go crowdfunding, I think you can pretty cheaply add some like Facebook ads because you can easily target parents in the demographic of parents with toddlers and kind of pre-sell. And if you have a good ads guy, they'll be able to pretty inexpensively test and iterate some campaigns preemptively that'll push people towards the crowdfunding. Why that is important is because they can essentially iterate an ad to know what works and then push people to the crowdfund. But then when you actually launch, and you've already fulfilled on the people for the crowdfunding side, then you also already know the Facebook ads that work. That when you go to launch mass market, you already have you know what works.
Yeah.
You know what you need to iterate on, and then when you add cash to it with angel investing or whatever else might be, or even bootstrapping, like you can just keep pouring the profits back into it and scale, which you can do pretty quickly. And then I think affiliates additionally would be really big for you guys. There's so many micro influencers in the parenting space. Like
Yeah.
if you give them 20% cut, 10%, 20% cut, it's not nothing. But if they get value out of it, man, it's a win-win situation. And I feel like either one of those, but especially those together, like that would be the rocket fuel that you need.
Smart stuff. Yeah, man. It's good to be validated in that way because it makes a lot of sense. And it's a good sounding board to know that I'm not losing my mind in my discernible platform.
Yeah, yeah. You got to focus on first the one foot in front of the other, right? And so, help me understand then. For anyone else who might be at the stage that you're at, um, do you feel like, or how are you making the jump from like full time employment to going to that full time, or are you planning on, hey, I'm just gonna keep this a side project for as long as I can, like ministry is my full time thing? Help us understand that landscape on what you're looking to do for other people who might be in that stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super difficult decision, right? Because you are ultimately a house divided can't stand. So you're a person who is inherently in conflict when your inclinations, desires, and ambitions are pulling you out in one direction, and yet all the while, your 9 to 5 and the necessity of keeping bread on the table is an equal burden and even doubly important in lots of regard, but obviously takes away um, from your passions. Here's the deal: we're not at critical mass yet, but we are expecting the time to do so. And we are not waiting to see what happens or to decide then. I'm of the conviction that you must decide who it is that you're going to be, because if you don't preemptively decide who you're going to be, then who you are is likely who you will be. So if you're not going to be willing to put in the work and to take the step, then perhaps it's not best for you to do it at all. Maybe before you even step out, you should count the cost. And instead of waiting for life to happen to you, you should happen to life. So we're not at the place in which we're at critical mass. and we need to step away. The work isn't um, in conflict right now. It's certainly not easy, but we're able to rightly steward both our 9 to 5s. I work remote with a company in which I have been given a great deal of autonomy and a great deal of trust. Hopefully, because since we've been together for over a decade, that it's been earned, and it has been, I believe, uh, the friend that I work with at Carney Contracting doing his client relations is a godly brother who believes in my vision. He believes in God's call on my life as a pastor and has given me room to minister. And he's believed in God's call on my life to be a founder as he invested into the company as well. So I just have a
Wow.
great deal of support. When it's time, we're ready to do it, and we've decided preemptively that we will do it when we decide. Like when it's time, we will make that. We will make that step. We won't wait to make that choice. Um,
So, are you pastoring? You're working full time for a contracting business, and you're getting this stuff off the ground while raising 3 kids as well. All that at the same time.
I'm bashful when you say it like that, but that is the case. Except caveat, we have since left the the church in which we were serving at, Calvary Life. It's a great church for those of you in the SoCal area. Um, it is a huge church of 10,000. Our church in Philly had 50. So it couldn't have been more polarizing for me. It could not have been any more different. And it was a amazing learning season, an amazing experience, and it was rich. And I hope that I helped do God's work there. But we have since stepped away from that ministry and believe that God's call to minister is paramount to our purpose in life and our joy in life, and will continue to do so. We're moving from Inglewood here in sort of that southern South LA, North South Bay area. We're moving to the San Fernando Valley to Chatsworth. My wife was formed there in Christ. She moved there when she was about 20 years old. Um, her parents live there, and we have intentions on using our new home there and using the foothold that the Lord has given us in the San Fernando Valley to make our house a place where people can come and learn and receive from the Word of God and be discipled. Ultimately, I guess I'm just taking the long way around it to say that I think actually we're going to move towards church planting. And that's cool because it's entrepreneurial and you could do it at your pace. You could do it like, for example, I'm going to go there. My intention is to assimilate into the community as a startup founder, as a guy who works a regular job, and as ordained pastor, and be myself and see who I meet at jujitsu and at the grocery store and who I can invite to church. And there will be a season where, not immediately upon arrival, but in which we open up our home for a weekly Bible study. And we'll just see what the Lord will do. I'm expecting that where God's word is taught in spirit and in truth, where his name is lifted up, that he's going to draw folks to it, and he's going to move powerfully. He honors those who honor him. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about? I think a big question that people have is trying to figure out like how do you balance having kids, starting a business, working full time. I mean, that's such a common thing. And then also being a pastor as well. I mean, it's easy to feel guilty of like pulling time away from the kids, but also balancing your work from home. That's a blessing, but at the same time, you're always home. So it's like that, just this constant balancing act between four different balls you're juggling up in the air. So, I mean, what are some tips that you had around making it through that season kind of guilt free?
I don't. It's a crap show. I can't teach on how to do it guilt free because I'm riddled with not just guilt, but a genuine conviction of shortfalling every area of life all the time. So maybe that should be the baseline, and maybe we should expect to get punched in the face if we get into a boxing match. So maybe
Yeah. So what we're learning here is everyone's experiences. We're just all figuring it out.
I will tell you this. Though I have no remedy for guilt or even conviction, I have no solution as to how you can be the perfect parentrepreneur. Because I don't think you can. I think that in all of history, in all of human, since the conception and the inception of time, that there's one hero in the story, and I believe that that's the person of Jesus Christ. That doesn't mean that there's not practical steps, and I'm going to get to that, but he is, and I'm not. And what I am is his, and I'm a work in progress. That I deeply value excellence. I deeply value my children. I deeply value my wife. Deeply value this startup. I mean, I used to be a wretch and a mess. Now I'm an inventor and a CEO. I'm a pastor. Like, I deeply value that which has been entrusted to me. Value it, cherish it, nurture it, cultivate it, protect it, defend it, work hard, get up early, stay up late, uh, go harder, try it, do it, do it, do it, shut up, do it, plan it, do it. So all of those things are true, but I think that the guiding principle of this all comes down to one of our earlier points, and it's a part of being sober minded, meaning a parent, an entrepreneur that has their priorities in order, so you can always check your priority list, and it will help guide you into making the right decision. For example, hospitals do it all the time. It's called triage. If be a sober mind here, let's clean it up like this. Here's an exhortation. Be a sober-minded parentrepreneur. Be sober-minded, and that just means be a person that can rightly triage the importance of things in the order that they are in life. For example, my wife takes paramount. She is the most important human being on this planet. If she and I are not synced, if she is unloved, unnurtured, if she is neglected, everything else subsequently falls. She's the gunshot wound in the hospital triage. She gets carte blanche. I don't care what the podcast is. I don't care what the deliverable is. At the ministry, at the startup, in my passions, my hobbies, she's first. Next, kids. Sorry, dude. Can't. Actually, I'm gonna need to delay this action item for my KPI. I mean, listen, we're on. I work with C-suite level killers. Bennett Andelman is a C-suite, perennial C-suite guy. He's on our team. He wears lots of different hats. I think on our org chart he's the COO, but he's a CMO. He is a chief people officer. He is a insane team builder, encourager, marketer. He's an author. He comes out of billion-dollar companies and $100 million companies, and he's like got me. He I say that he brings method to my madness. He makes sure that we're organized and that I'm not a complete cowboy out here just casting vision without ever implementing any of the things in which it actually ends up being casted. Not my strong suit. Grateful for Bennett. The point is that Asana task gets punted on, and it's not getting met if the kids are sick. It's like sorry, B, I can't deliver on that. Someone came into the hospital. That's the knife. That's the broken bone. That's more important. So I got wife, and then I got kids, and then I got like bread, like food on the table. That's got to be Carney Contracting Services. That's the stuff that's affording me the capacity to build this business. It's affording me the capacity to work from home. It's keeping us insured if we do actually have to visit the hospital. It's like I'm entrusted with a great deal. I'm given almost unilateral autonomy. I got to make sure that my yes is yes, my no is no, that those balls are in the air. So it's like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit of an order of operations here. So when I'm navigating things that, yeah, they all need attention for sure, I can do it in a way where I can sleep at night cleanly, knowing that I've fulfilled, I think, my responsibility before God. And I guess that sums it up with this. Know what you're supposed to do on this earth. Like know that you were made for a purpose, and you need to discover what that purpose is and do it. One of my life verses, Philippians 3:12. Not that I've apprehended. I can't tell you how to do it guiltless. I can't tell you exactly how we're going to get to market. There's a great deal I can't tell you. I'm still learning about Grace 101, God 101. The only thing, even as a pastor, the only thing that I'm an expert in, my brother, is sin. I got a doctorate in how to fall short and how to mess up. But Philippians 3:12, not that I've already obtained, but I press on to the outward call, that I may lay hold of that which I've been laid held for. This is like, it's a good paperweight. Here's my Stanley Cup. We got this for free at the church. I didn't choose this color. This was a donation. Nor would I care if it's a Stanley Cup or not. But if that is still in vogue, then,
Hey, they keep water ice cold, man.
dude, freezing. Point is,
There's nothing quite like the drink from the mommy water, is what we call it around the house.
bro,
It's a hot item.
it'll keep it cold for 6 days. But hey, a great paperweight, a decent self-defense weapon. I mean, this thing is pretty durable, but it was created so obviously for this intention, for me to have that fresh, cold, piping hot beverage of choice. And I believe that when it's in my hand and I'm drinking from this thing, it is just the most satisfied. It is the most, and I'm clearly anthropomorphizing, but it's like I am personifying. This is now a person. It is like, yes, thank you. And then when I put it down, it's like, use me. And it's useful to me for a specific purpose. When I use it for its intended purpose, it's good. It's satisfied. It's fulfilling. It's doing its job. In that same way, parents everywhere, you are made intentionally. And I believe that our businesses are a huge part of our intentional making. I think that at the expense of esteeming spirituality to not have any interface with what's plain, ordinary, or natural, we think that those things are in conflict. I couldn't disagree more. I think if you've been called to start something to do with music because you have a passion for music, then play your music and build your music business unto the Lord. If it's for sales, then sell your butt off and be the best salesman and do it with excellence unto the Lord. Close every deal unto the Lord. Fighters, beat the brakes off your training partners and in your competition unto the Lord. It's like, and singers should sing and dancers should dance and business people should business. because you were created to do so. Do it unto the Lord. You've been made for a purpose. Figure out what it is and do it. Have that triage so you know how to balance it all, because it's going to be a crap show. Let me know if you have any suggestions from me, because I could use them.
Dude, I love it. I think what's really important to zoom in on what you mentioned is the priority, because naturally having priority, and this is something I learned in adulthood, because being early as a kid, earlier on in my upbringing, I was much more open, much less confrontational, to where you can just easily get pushed around and just do whatever anyone else wants. All right, did your power go out? Oh, okay.
No.
Just kiddos. You're good, man. But all I have to say is, like, when you prioritize something in your life, it you have to automatically, by prioritizing something, it pushes things out. It creates the natural boundaries. And so I think you're spot on there, because your family is your ministry first. And I'm right there with you, where I think you can do business ethically and it take care of others, and that it's an outpouring of Christ's love. But you're absolutely right. Family, wife, kids, like, it comes first. And not everybody gets that, especially as you're balancing all these different things at the same time.
Yeah, it's no indictment on my commitment to Gammit Tech. It's no indictment on the Louvi. And I believe by rightly stewarding the primary things, it actually doesn't take away from the development of the product or the company at all. I think I'm going to be a whole man. I'm going to be a well-ordered, sober-minded, house clean, wife loved, kid healthy, digging deep down on a foundation that isn't going to cave when we make our first 10 million. Because I'm not going to be possessed by these achievements. I'm not going to be owned by them. I'm not going to be mastered by them. They're going to serve God. They're going to serve us. We're going to help people. And we're not going to be it's like we're not going to vacillate or be for sale without wisdom or on a whim. God makes us whole people that can stand on something, people that can withstand something. I'm not afraid to church plant. I'm not afraid to pastor. I'm not afraid to start a company, not because I don't experience fear, but because I can have the courage and the confidence to know that this idea was not my own. My wisdom is not my own. I don't simply just operate on my own strength or on my stores of intellectual capacity. I'm working with a different dynamic. I get wisdom from God. So again, I'm not trivializing the importance of responsibility and understanding my competition and product market fit and meta ads and consumer reports and habits and strategies of go to market and angel investing. I'm not saying that there's not plenty of ground level work to do. I'm just saying the X factor is not going to be found on AI unless you're asking it really strategic questions about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So
then I'll leave you with this last question then.
yeah.
Because I know you probably got bedtime coming up here. Man, what you created is I find it really fascinating and a big feat on its own, even to get to this point, because a physical product's hard, much less a physical product that you have to manufacture from the ground floor. Like, that's really difficult, and it takes a lot of confidence and a lot of just figuring it out, like talking to the right people, getting the right partnerships in place. Like, that is that is a not an easy business to get into. So like kudos to you. Like that's really impressive. So I guess if you talk to yourself a year or two ago, or a wannabe founder who has an idea, who's a parent, and they want to get their idea off the ground, like what advice would you give them to starting something, a physical product like what you did?
Yeah. Well, I would certainly encourage the due diligence, the discovery and due diligence, not because I would have a desire for parents to understand the total context of what they're getting into as physical product, as hardware, or physical product entrepreneurs. I don't know that you can do that. I mean, I'm still Googling definitions on every one of our weekly stand-ups as brilliant engineers and marketers powwow over our company plans. I mean, I wish all of you, hey, if you want to invest in Gammit Tech, I know exactly what to do. Look at the product being used by a kid, and then join our Tuesday meeting stand-ups at 5 p.m. Pacific and listen to this team riff in their combined genius and character. I personally believe, and I know this is not your answer to the question, but I believe that we are the smartest group of people to ever combine to solve potty training. I don't think a team. We are truly the Power Rangers. We are the Philadelphia Eagles last year in solving for potty training. We are like the preemptive studs of combined character and competence. Here's my here's my here's my response. Do the discovery. I went to hardware meetups. I spent hours and hours and hours on AI. I scoured the internet for LinkedIn. I took itty bitty bites. I met with engineers. I met with people in design. I met with manufacturers. They spoke and I couldn't understand anything that they were saying. I met with financial experts to make sure that this was solvent or going to be a feasible product. I just put myself so rawly out there to try to do the discovery. But I will tell you one thing that I did possess, that I think that every single one of us listening need for any venture in entrepreneurship, any venture in parenthood, and any venture that's worthwhile in you experiencing it anywhere in your life. You need to decide who you're going to be before you do it. You need a resolved commitment to seeing this through, come hell or high water. And I believe that if that's feeling oriented, if it's at all whimsical, then it is totally going to be a non-starter, because it just is just too hard. And the trials are going to come, so make sure that you're built on a rock. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm resolved into doing it unto completion and with excellence. I believe from a place of deep conviction that I am to see this through. And I am going to see it through. This company will have a product on the market, or it will dissolve. But I'm like, right, I'm going, like, one of us are coming out of this ring alive. And I plan on winning.
I say that starting a startup is a lot like marriage. The success of it is completely determined on how committed you are to it. So I'm right there with you. Troy, this has been great. I want to follow this story more and have you on just to continue to hear how the company is growing. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining, man.
You're a blessing, Jake. Thank you.
This has been the Parentrepreneur Podcast. Thanks for watching.